An 8-year-old boy named Julian was gifted with a red tin box decorated with a merry-go-round design. It was from his bedridden mom, and he considered it a treasure. Julian's father is abusive and always lays his hand on him. One time, he didn't want to go to school. His dad dragged him outside until they reached the bus. Before he could hop in the vehicle, he saw a girl being mistreated by other kids. Her name is Sophie, an immigrant's daughter from Poland. Someone pushed her into the mud. Everyone called her out as Dirty Polak. She didn't cry or complain about what they did. She may have been bullied countless times, but she got used to it. All her school supplies were scattered on the road. She had difficulties picking it up, so the bus driver helped her out. Julian pitied her. Seeing that she did not own expensive things, he gave her the box he treasured the most. The girl smiled and looked at it. However, Julian requested the little girl to share the box with him so that he also had something to play with. Julian also enjoyed her company because he had no one to play with at home. The game of dares continued as they shared the box. The one who has it will be the one to dare. At school, Julian also brings the box. One time, the teacher asked the class about words that starts with the letter B. Sophie raised her hand. The teacher chose her, so she recited. She uttered foul words that made the woman mad. She told her to stop, but the little girl continued. Out of anger, the teacher slapped her. Everyone laughed at Sophie's strange behavior. She was threatened to get 0 grades for what she did. While the teacher nags at her, Julian passes the box to Sophie. She only did that for a dare. The teacher suspected that Julian was part of it, so the two of them were brought to the principal's office. The principal lectured Julian and Sophie. He was disappointed with how they behaved in the classroom earlier. As he gave his never-ending words of wisdom about respect and discipline, Julian peed before him. Sophie giggled because he dared him to do so. The administrators decided to separate them. Julian is now in another section while the girl remains in the same room. Regardless of distance, the game of dare continued. It came to the point that they were summoned every day to the principal's office. It was nothing to them. They held hands as the superior shouted. Their parents were also invited to school. Sophie's sister attends for her. Fortunately, she never laid her hands on her. Meanwhile, Julian's dad gave him a hard time. When Julian arrived home, he was told by his dad to remain quiet and not disturb his sleeping mom. But as expected, the naughty boy did the opposite and created loud noises. He jumped to his mom's bed and hugged her. He loved her mom so much. He's a mama's boy in particular, but it was saddening that her body became weak. His mom touched his face. She looked into his eyes and said the doctor had visited her earlier. Julian interrupted and said he earned 10 points during the recitation and a lecture from the principal. His mom burst out laughing. Suddenly, his dad entered and dragged him to his room. Julian will be grounded for days as punishment. One night, his mom came in to read him a storybook. Julian stared at her sadly and asked if she would pass away. All along, he was aware of his surroundings. Despite being naughty, he felt that his mom would leave him soon. The woman was caught off guard. She jokingly said that she dies every day because he's silly. She also told him that she would fly to the sky sooner. Julian laughed and tickled his mom. Suddenly, she coughed hard. She couldn't stop it. There, she decided to greet her son goodnight before leaving. His mom forgot to close the door. Julian saw how his dad comforted her. He gently pats her back to ease the pain she felt. His dad noticed that the door was open. He attempted to close it, but Julian shouted. He asked permission to go outside to attend a party. His dad was mad and told him to stay. He shut the door after. The next day, Julian was able to escape. He immediately went to the neighborhood to attend a wedding. Sophie's sister was married, and she invited him to the party. The naughty kid stayed under the table. Julian giggled because he found the bride's dress awful. Sophie laughed and told him that the groom was more horrible. There, she also dared him that at his wedding, he should respond no. Julian found it exciting, and he was ready to do it. Wedding music filled the air, but the two continued talking about silly things. Julian told Sophie that he wanted to become a tyrant in the future so that he could have many slaves. Meanwhile, Sophie's dream was worse because she wanted to be a flan with apricots, like the pastry sold in the bakery. Julian burst laughing to hear that. The atmosphere went awkward, so Sophie ordered Julian to open the table's linen. She also dared to pull it, so the boy did. The plates on the table fell as well as the wedding cake. The guest was surprised to see the mess. Julian escaped by transferring from one table to another. He successfully went home and saw his father there. The little boy prepared his body to be hit, but his dad only held his shoulder. He was happy to see him and said they would be going somewhere. Julian finds him weird. Little did he know they would be heading to the hospital. Julian hugged his weak mom. While lying on the bed, she hardly spoke and had difficulty breathing. He cried before her and dared his mom to get well soon. She giggled but told his son that he didn't have the box to dare someone. Julian stood up to get it from Sophie. His dad stopped him. He wanted him to kiss his mom and hug her. Julian went emotional but assured his mom that he would always be there before she flew to the sky. His mom smiled. She was proud to raise a sweet and brave child. From then on, Julian decided to stay at the hospital. He made cards to his mom, wishing her to get well. Shortly after, Sophie came, but he told her to leave. Sophie was hurt. She left the box and dared him to hop. She knew that Julian was crying inside but was ashamed to show it. Julian accepted the dare and jumped around his mom's room. He jumped from tile to tile and wished his mom would wake up after that. He jumped higher, believing his wish would be granted if he gave his all. He fell to the floor after the attempt. The heart monitor's line went straight, and it also alarmed everyone. Doctors came, but his mom did not make it. Julian cried. He wanted to hug his mom, but he was not allowed to. On burial day, Julian can't stop crying while holding his dad. His dad was also grieving, but he tried to hide it from his son. In the middle of the solemn ceremony, someone sang a funny song. It was Sophie. She wears a colorful outfit and stands above a tomb. She wanted to make Julian laugh, and she was successful. At home, Julian's dad worries because his son looks lonely. He kept visiting his mom's bed, crying. He didn't know how to comfort him. Suddenly, he remembered that Julian laughed once because of Sophie. He immediately called their landline to ask permission from his family. He intends to let the girl sleep with Julian to make him feel better. Julian was so happy that Sophie was sleeping over. He felt that he was not alone anymore. Before sleeping, he asked Sophie if he could also go to their place to sleep. The girl refused. She doesn't want him to see how poor they are. The sleepover was supposed to be one night, but days, weeks, months, and years passed by, and it became a routine. They shared the same bed for almost 10 years. The bed became smaller each day as they turned teenagers. Sophie wakes up early than Julian. She also turns off the alarm most of the time. One day, she woke up late. She rushed to her desk and remembered they had an exam that day. She rattled, and it made Julian annoyed. He wished that she would fail. Sophie was mad. She hit him with a pillow. Julian hates it the most, so he fights back. He grabbed a pillow and hit her. It was too strong that the pillow burst, spreading all the feathers. They argued and screamed at each other like there was no end. Their fight can be heard around the house, and Julian's dad is irritated. He used to be the mediator whenever the two rambled. He went in and saw the mess they had created. Julian and Sophie burst laughing after he left. They are already comfortable with each other since they share a bed. Julian teased her by playing with her underwear. He won't give it until Sophie agrees with a dare. At school, Sophie wore her bikinis over her t-shirt and pants. Julian laughed because it was his dare. She was a head-turner because of that. It was math class, and each student was called inside to answer a problem. Sophie's name was first. As she was solving the math problem, she was irritated that her teacher pronounced her name wrong. But what made her go insane was seeing Julian flirting with the blonde lady, Miller. She walked out of the room, and Julian was laughing at her. While walking downstairs, Sophie was irritated with Julian's laugh. She dared him to flirt with Miller and get her earrings. Julian loved the dare. He wanted to make a move to Miller. At the school's lavatory, Julian kissed her. He successfully got her earrings as Sophie instructed. Julian dashed to the grocery store where Sophie worked. She looked pissed off with his presence, not until he showed the earrings. Sophie was delighted and dropped the precious jewelry into the drainage. She laughed that Miller now has nothing. Julian disagreed because she still has that gym coach with big biceps. Sophie boasted that she had already slept with that man. Julian laughed and teased her that she was daydreaming. The two went to the field where the gym coach could be found. He was doing cardio exercises there. It was the first time Julian saw that man and couldn't believe that he was Sophie's type. He dared her to slap him. Sophie obeyed and approached the guy and slapped him. Julian also did the same after. Suddenly, the man was mad. He went hysterical and hit his forehead on Julian's. It was too strong that Sophie was forced to run away. The two didn't stop there, and their dares became extreme. They slapped the similar gym coach guy every day. They followed him all around to do that. It came to the point that the man cried while he was eating. There, Sophie said to Julian to stop pranking him. The man agreed but dared, for the last time, to kick his manhood. Later that day, Sophie walked with an injured wrist because of the dare. She was so mad at Julian that they argued in the middle of the road. They blocked the traffic, and cars beeped. However, they were not bothered. Sophie wanted to get the box. They fought over it until the lady initiated a kiss to intimidate him. It was successful. She got the box and climbed to the roof of a car. She dared Julian to kiss her. Hearing that, he blushed and kissed her. The driver of the vehicle was pissed off. Julian grabbed Sophie's hands and brought her under the tunnel. He continued kissing her. They were lost in the moment. Julian loved it that he dared the lady to love her. He asked her if she was game. Sophie froze. She was disappointed that he only thought of kissing as a game. She left him there. Mr. Janvier, Julian's dad, hasn't moved on from his wife's death. He was depressed and became irritable. One time while picking up Julian, he was so mad. He told him to be serious about his studies and stop playing silly games. The teenage boy told him to calm down. The man turned red and exploded. He blamed him that if he did not play with that box at the hospital, maybe his mom would still be alive. Julian cried. He denied that he eliminated his mom. Mr. Janvier grabbed his tin box and dared him to choose between Sophie and him, threw the box outside, and it made his son upset. He went out of the car and ran. Julian went to Sophie's apartment, crying. He wanted to talk to her even if she was upset. He knocked on the door, but her sister was only there. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. It was Sophie. She was angry that he had gone there. Since they were kids, Sophie warned him never to come to her unit. She doesn't want him to know that they are poor. Julian apologized for what he did in the tunnel. Sophie never responded. She was crying instead. The kiss was all out of a dare. She falls in love with him, but she's afraid to confess. Julian decided to leave in the meantime to give her space. He left the box and dared her to forgive him. The box fell from her hands and rolled downstairs. She didn't pick it up out of disappointment. Days passed. Sophie wore a dress and went to Julian's place. She carried the box to apologize to him. However, only Mr. Janvier was there. He locked the door and never let her in. Sophie was desperate, so she went inside. Mr. Janvier was mad and gave her money to leave. Sophie felt insulted, so she punched him. The lady went to the library, and she saw Julian there. He was busy studying. She told him to remain silent because she would do the talk. Sophie confesses that she missed him so much. She placed the box on the table. She wanted to talk without playing games. The lady cried and said that she was not convinced that the kiss was no love at all. She wanted him to confess because she was afraid that if she expressed her love, he might think that she was just joking. The man held her hand, seeing her sobbing. Sophie laughed because she was only practicing. She was talking to another man. Julian was in a separate room. He was busy studying for his exams. He was cold to her. The lady asked her when he was free so that they could talk. He responded that he was free next year. Sophie was hurt. She felt that she was bothering him. She left the box and dared him to pass the exam. Sophie left brokenhearted. Julian felt bad. He regretted that he had never talked to her. He ran and grabbed her arms. The lady was angry at him. However, the lady told him that it was just a dare, and she'll only talk to him a year later like he said earlier. Julian followed her again. He told her he had something to say, but he was afraid to do so. Sophie was upset. In her mind, she hoped he would confess his feelings, but he never did. So she went downstairs to catch the bus. Julian was hurting to see her leaving. They were just staring at each other without knowing their mutual feelings. The bus arrived, and Sophie went inside. Julian ran fast. He shouted for her to leave the vehicle because he loved her so much. He repeatedly said, "I love you," for the lady to hear him. Inside, Sophie looked at him. He was saying something, but she could not listen to him. Years passed by, but no Sophie came back. Julian spent most of his time on that same street. He was hoping that she would return. He visits there every day. He wanted her to know that his heart was aching because he missed her so much. One afternoon, he finally saw Sophie. She works as a waitress in a coffee shop. Julian did not waste a chance and invited her for dinner. The lady teased his outfit. It was too formal that she didn't want to date him. It was not a problem for Julian. He removed his slacks before her. Sophie laughed and grabbed her bag to date him. Night came, and Sophie was stunning in her black dress. They dined in a resto. Julian was delighted to know that she was not dating someone. They had wine and conversed throughout the night. The man held her hand and looked into her eyes. He told her he was in love and had been keeping it a secret. He wanted to marry her. Sophie blushed and recalled her dare to him, to say no during his wedding. Julian gave her a ring box. He was not yet done speaking, but Sophie accepted the proposal. Everyone at the resto clapped, delighted to witness engaged lovers. The man continued proposing and told her that he wanted her to be the witness to his wedding with Christelle. He introduced his fiancée and left the tin box to her. He told her he didn't want to be in the dare game anymore. Sophie felt jealous, especially when the lady kissed Julian. At sea nearby, she threw the box, forgetting all the memories she had spent with him. Wedding came. Sophie fulfilled her role as a witness and attended the ceremony. She was so stunning in her dress. She was not bothered that Julian would be married that day. It was Julian's turn to say, "I do," so Sophie rolled the box to his feet. Julian saw it and was extremely bothered. Regardless, he still answered yes. Sophie cried. She stood up and objected to the wedding. She said to everyone that she and Julian were already engaged. Mr. Janvier was angry at her. He was mad that she always tailed them wherever they were. He thought that she had already vanished from his son's life. Back then, he considered her a bad influence on the dare game she started. Christelle felt embarrassed at her wedding. Together with her family, they left the church. Julian was about to go crazy seeing that his fiancée was leaving him. Because of that, he decided to follow Sophie instead. She removed her blindfold and saw that Julian was there. He did not attempt to save her. He even shouted to go to hell. Sophie was disappointed. She dared him never to meet her again for 10 years. Sophie went to her famous football player boyfriend. He was rich, so she loved to stick to him. 10 years later, Julian was already married. He had a loving wife and 2 kids. It was also only that year that he had the courage to see his father again. He never had a chance to do so after a decade. He also visits his mom and imagined her flying to the sky. Even if he already reached a new chapter of his life, he can still remember Sophie. He was longing for her and wondered if he will ever meet her again. Sophie, on the other hand, is Sergei's mistress. She still has the box at the apartment. Suddenly, Julian received a package. It was from Sophie. The box was there, so he decided to go to her address. He finally saw her in a red dress. However, the lady called the police and reported a maniac breaking into their house. Julian laughed and was not bothered. He even waited for the cops to arrive. As he heard the siren, he drove his car away. Road rage took place as the police tried to trap him. Shortly after, Julian found a route that would help him escape. There, he bumped a truck. A blast followed and burned his car in the tin box. The police called Sophie so that Julian was brought to the hospital. She trembled seeing his burned body, but it was not him. He was in a separate room and only had a cut on his head. While Sergei was nagging her in the car, Sophie felt that Julian was still alive. So she returned to the hospital. She was right. He was waiting for her there. However, Sergei was jealous as the two of them kissed. He punched Julian. It was too strong that he lost his senses. Under the pouring rain, Sophie waited for him to wake up. The rain stopped, and Sophie doubted that he was still alive. Regardless, she grabbed the box and dared him never to leave her. And Julian woke up after. From then, they swore never to leave each other again. They jumped into the foundation of the construction site where Julian works. As the cement was poured, they kissed. In the afterlife, they grow old together with the tin box that fuels their romance.